The pros and cons of having many kids. We have got many. We said we have got 6. When we got married, we had budgeted for 4 children, but we ended up having 6. I think the number of children will depend on the grace that God has given you. It's not an issue of money. At the end of the day, how you manage to bring them out in the fear of the Lord is more taxing than money. You can have all the money, but to bring them in the knowledge and the fear of God is what is very, very demanding. How much grace has God given you? We live in a world where the very rich have got no children or have got 1 or 2. The very poor have got 10 or more. And so it's an issue that between you and your spouse, you decide on. And if you are deciding on the basis of money, it's very unlikely that you come up with a good decision, because money cannot bring up children to fear the Lord. If they are older and they have decided to have 1 child, there should be no regrets. We got married, our children are grown up, none of them lives in our house with us. It is back to the 2 of us. Whether you have 1 child or you have got 10, eventually they will leave the 2 of you alone. So the regret of having 1 child is not an issue. Of course, you are expected to go and multiply and fill the whole world. But we do it collectively.
Indeed, it's true what he said. And we have a friend and a neighbor who, because of just the condition of life where they grew, they were missionaries, they only got 1 child. We don't know what happened after she got the 1 child. She was not able to get any more. But because they raised that child in godly ways, that child is such a blessing. So it doesn't matter whether you're older or young. God has blessed you with 1 child. Raise that child to know there is a God who hears and answers prayer. That child may be the blessing you never expected. She truly is. And our children are all a blessing. We love them. Houseful, we used to be told, vifaranga wote wanatoka kwa hiyo gari, kwani hiyo mama alifikira aliambiwa peke yake kujaza dunia. But now, some of my friends are telling me, oh, Liz, I wish we had done what you did. They shouldn't be saying that, but I think it's the joy of just seeing when we're all together, that 1 week, it's fun. God bless you, whether it's 1 or there are many. God bless you.
What she is not telling you is our friend who had 1 child, that child has 6 children.
How do I balance grieving and not receiving healing and believing that the Lord is still a healer? A difficult question, but an issue that I have struggled with over the years. And you know that I struggle with it because when you come to me or to us when we are praying like we are saying that prayer for the very first time. We have never said it like we are repeating. We are praying because we trust the Lord has to heal. But one thing that we know is that whatever the Lord does, he does it for his own glory, and he does it at his own time. And therefore, if the answer does not come in the manner that you expect, you should learn to give him thanks, because he will have done only what God can do. That's how we balance it. God bless you.
Praise God again. Yeah, I'm going to answer about the children. We are asked how, we said we have 6 children. They are all big. And I have said we have 5 children, the 3 daughters and 2 sons. You want to know whether they are working with the Lord? I will say yes, all of them. But we took them the way we had agreed to take them to church, to teach them the word of God, even at home. That's what we did it very well. We would read with them. We also made our family norms together, the rules. And we had to explain why they are important. And one of the things we told them, this is Nairobi, where there is no security. We have to have rules in our home. We have to have those norms which are understood by all of us. We took them to AIC church, where my husband took me. With me, I grew up in Anglican, and that's where I got saved. And in all after the marriage, I had now to follow the boss, and we went there. And when they were growing, they grew through the Sunday school, the youth, and all that. But they disappeared one by one to different churches. All of them, they have gone to Baptist. Some of them, Thika Road, the two following one another, Joki and Wangui. Then we go to the third born, the fourth and the fifth. They followed one another to Parklands, and they are doing work of God very well. We are just proud of them and proud of God. Definitely number one, proud of God, because He is the one who is sustaining their salvation. So in Parklands, Kanyi, our third born, is doing discipleship. The brother is on the baptism area. Like the mother, I'm also doing it in our church. He's leading that. They are not pastors, and they should not be. As Mama Rebecca has said, Mama Wamboi has said, it is not about the position, but about being chosen by God to do His work and accepting to work for Him. I really love that, because they are working for the Lord in different capacities. Our firstborn is also in that Baptist Thika Road. He was leading the youth. The sister is in choir and those business, different areas in the church. So we love that. About the work, the firstborn is a director in one of the homes. The others are doing different jobs. But our lastborn is not yet employed. But that doesn't mean he's a lesser person in our family. He's damn important. We love all of them the way they are, with or without. They are our children. They are the gift from our Lord. So that's how I understood the question. I hope I have answered it correctly. The grandkids are tiny. The first born is in grade 1, and we always claim to be taken to school by Shosho. The Shosho is me, who woke up for the parents, and then now I'm waking up for the grandchild, and the tiny things there. When I say tiny things, they are tiny to babies. They are just there shosho and entering the drawers. Wanakaa huko ndani wanakuita kwa drawer. So I have all the entertainments and buraburas, and I'm running around. I'm told to run in the house. When I say I'm old, I'm told I am asked, which area are you old? I definitely don't know where I am old. So I have to wake up and run. And where I will reach, I will sit down when they want.
Have you ever made a financial mistake as a couple? How did you get out of it? What lesson did you learn? Yes, I should say yes. We have made several mistakes, not even one. But when we make such a mistake, we discuss all around it. You know, mistakes must be made. In fact, I read a book about financial budgeting, and it had also another title which was talking about management, that risk management, yes. Sometimes you risk on things. We have bought plots, which we know we might not get them back. They have gone, and we don't complain. That's the fact, because we all had agreed to do such a thing. When you do a mistake, and you know you did it trying to do a good thing, and it goes sour, you don't have to worry so much. First, you have to pray. And you know we are in a world whereby you can be cheated, because you know sometimes you cannot know all things that it will go well when we try them. I have given an example of buying a thing, and at the end of result, you find it is not coming up clearly. There are some people who go and fight about it, but for you, you have a way to get out of that. Is pray and ask God, I was doing this genuinely. You paid, you have documents, and all this. If it does not work, then give us another alternative, and you'll be given. And finally, it can return to you. Bwana asifiwe. That's one thing about it.
You had only one question.
I had only one question.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You want to add?
Maybe before the other person comes.
You want to help your husband answer
Yeah,
his question?
I'm helping my friend. Like now, giving an example. There is a project we agreed even with our children. That is a financial mistake, which we thought it would produce. And then it used almost 1 million, and it failed completely zero. Nothing. We didn't benefit anything. In which it didn't bring up any family breakup. We prayed about it. We thank God. We told him, you had given us this money, but if we made a mistake and we went against your will, our Father, forgive us and help us. And let us have a better way. So it's like kutukanyangisha brakes. Are we getting it? When you are driving and then you are almost knocking the car in front of you, you have to brake either emergency or the normal brakes. So now we had that brakes, but though we had prayed before, we didn't blame God that kwa nini hukusikia hiyo ya kwanza. You would have helped us this way. But God did his ways. It didn't stop us from eating, looking nice, doing things together with our children. We love one another. We are understanding. So a mistake will come, but remember God. And remember to thank him always, because he is the one who provide for a better project and profitable project. I just wanted to give that example.
That's a very good addition. So you have a choice either to start. Who is really more to blame? I know we are both to blame, but you are more. That will be the end of your marriage. You have discovered who is worse at the expense of your own marriage. So they are recommending, if you took a risk in agreement and you actually consulted, but it has backfired, both of you are equally guilty. Are we together? It's only he suggested, you supported. Really, if you had said no, the thing would not have worked. So the one who suggested, the one who supported are equally guilty. So that's not the direction to go. Instead, pray to God and understand that God is putting, what do you call it? Funga break. Yeah, maybe you are going too fast. And so he wants that project to slow you down. But many years later, you look back and thank God that the brakes were applied. But many of you just start saying, it's because of the wife I married. But you were consulted and you agreed. So that's really, I thought that's a very good thing you have added.
Stima kwa marriage, sexual issues. Yeah? And she's Aliette so saved. Like Rebecca, she is at Tukutandres. And so she has asked me to handle it. How do you handle sexual incompatibility in marriage? One of a very high drive and the other very low drive. Nasikia mambo ya stima. Let me make some very general comments and say this. Sex is a very important aspect of marriage. And if sex is absent in marriage, inevitably, there may be difficulties in marriage. But I also want to tell you very boldly that men and women react and behave very differently in marriage, particularly in sexual issues. Kweli wrong? For men, most men at least, it's a high voltage, very fast. And women, my wife tells me, Mutiso used to tell them they are coals of fire. Yeah. When they studied that, whatever they studied in their counseling sessions. And the most interesting thing is that from a survey, is it a survey or a research done in a certain country, from a population, a sample of about 18,000 people over a long period of time, it was concluded that the findings were that in terms of priority, among many items in the marriage bed and what have you, men rate sex number one. Sex is the first thing. Na kama unamnyima hiyo, kutakuwa na vita, because it is very important for them. But for women, sex ranks number 4 or 5. I didn't have the Nenia, I would have given you the data. But it's there. Sex, a woman, first of all, wants to be loved, wants to be cared for, wants to be respected, wants something else, and then sex comes to number 5. Before she actually finds that space for it. But for a man, it is number 1. So how do you reconcile these two? How do you reconcile number 5 or number 4? I can't remember whether it's number 4 or number 5. How do you reconcile the two? I want to suggest this. It is not all the time that we shall have low sex drive. And it is not all the time that we shall have high sex drive. The older you become, I hear there's a certain time, there's a certain age when people have a very high drive. And there's a certain time that other ages have very low self-drive. But the important thing is this, and I want to ask you sincerely, when this question comes up, I ask myself the question, what is the origin of this question? What is the foundation of this question? Is it that one does not want sex? Or is it that it is delayed? Or is it that, inasikika kama ni dhambi, and so doesn't want to participate in it? What is it? And I am aware. And let me ask a stupid question. Who believes that sex is a gift from God? Let me see from the hands, by a show of hands. Who believes that sex is a gift from God? At least there are some of us who do not think it is a gift from God. There are some of us who have nani. Let me ask you the second ridiculous question. How many of us pray over sex? Yeah? 1, 2. Is there another one? Yeah, 4, 5. Yes, I've seen those hands. Let me tell you this. Out of this audience, only about 5 or so people pray before your sex activity, sex engagement. Let me ask another ridiculous question. How many pray after it? After sex engagement? Yeah, let me see. Good friends. Yes, there is one. There is one who does say thank you. In other ones, we will say, God bless this meal before we take it. But the very central gift in marriage, we do not want to thank God for it before we participate. And even afterwards, we do not want to tell God and our spouses, thank you for this season. I would like us to try to thank God and to seek God's blessing upon our spouses. Now, remember, if we are finding difficulties in our sexual life, can we look for a possible answer in our spiritual condition? Let us look for an answer, possibly in our spiritual condition, possibly in our emotional condition, and possibly in our physical condition, and finally in our mental situation. For I hear, my wife tells me, that sex for women has a lot to do with the years. Ile mambo inaingia kwa masikio. Yes, ile inaingia kwa masikio inasema mambo mob. But for men, it is mind and sight. We can talk about it. It's a debatable subject. And different people have different aspects. And we can talk about it as a subject with the papers, with what have you here. And whoever is more interested, I can give you the reference materials that I referred to regarding this Nani. And my brother John would like to take over, except if Mrs. Kenyo has now been converted on the other side, and she might want to say something.
Praise the Lord. I'm still saved. Yes, I know sex is a very sensitive issue to mostly couples, and lack of sex in a marriage or disruption in the life of sex can be very traumatic, and it can even cause separation, and it may even end up in destroying the entire family. He has said many things about it, but I would, as now from the counseling point of view, is that if you realize your issue is more than you can handle, I think the best we can do is to try and see a therapist who will be able to help us to address those issues. Sometimes it may be grudges, sometimes it may be guilt, sometimes it may be all these things. And unless they are hardened to allow you to relax, then it continues to be a big mountain in the family. And since it is the foundation of the family, then you are in marriage and yet you are not enjoying what marriage brings with it. So what I'm saying is that we can help one another through seeking attention from the psychologists, from therapists, so that they can help us deal with underlying issues which you may not be able to unearth yourself. Sometimes you need to be sensitized by somebody else to realize, actually there's something I have carried all through which has blocked my way to enjoyment of this activity in my marriage. Are we together? Are we all saved? God bless you.
If your marriage, one of you is not available for sex, know you have a problem. According to Fred, it can be psychological. It can even be spiritual. You're having a problem with God and being reflected in bed. One thing, according to them, you cannot assume is that it's normal not to be available in bed. But I think the other question was, if somebody is available but not as available, that's a question of friendship, isn't it? So the one who is too available, too whatever was called, can slow down, and the other one can. After all, you cannot have a walk. If one is running and the other one is walking, you have to find a way of. Yeah. But the only thing which I've heard from them is, don't say it is normal. There is something abnormal.
The question I have is the last one on the list, and it says, are all your children walking with the Lord, and what does it mean to the family unit if some of the adult children choose to walk contrary to the Lord's ways? We have 2 boys, and my wife and I led our 2 sons to the Lord during family devotions and the time we were spending with them. And both our boys are married, and our firstborn did stay with his wife for some years, and then difficulties came up, and they sought help. They sought help from the church. They sought help, professional help, and eventually it didn't. Both of them felt, no, we don't want to do this. So right now there's a divorce process going on, and we were involved in that healing process quite a bit, yet keep giving them enough space to work through. For example, when they are working with the pastor, we didn't get involved. We let them and the pastor work with them individually and as a couple. And then they did work through with a mental health professional. And again, at the granular level, we were not involved, but we would sit and we'll get a brief from both of them, or independently, and we did get involved with the parents. The first time we got together with the parents is when they told us they wanted to take what they called, they wanted to go on a retreat from the marriage. It's interesting how Christians, we use Christianese, you know. So I'm thinking, so you want to take a retreat from the marriage. What does that mean? I'm a mental health worker. I've never had that one. They said, well, you see, just take some time off with one another and pray and listen and think. And the retreat has gone on for many years now. We have a 13-year-old granddaughter from them. And my wife and I sat through this and said, this is our son. We cannot disown him. But when the wife was given to our family, she became our daughter. And we felt very strongly before the Lord that you do not disown a child. Who does that? So we sat with our daughter-in-law and said, you are having a challenge with our son. But we don't have a challenge with you. And you don't have a challenge with us, despite you're the mother of our granddaughter. Our granddaughter was having some little medical challenge, but it's just that they talk. When there's anything big going on with my granddaughter, they live in Mombasa, I go to Mombasa. Like last year, they had swimming gala, and I told her I'm coming. And I went down and was there, part of the swimming gala, and when I told her I'm coming, she says, cool. Now, you see, I'm an old man, and she knows I'm an old man, and she calls me an old man. She called me very old, which is true. And we had such fun. And anytime I'm in Mombasa for any reason, but I don't need to have a reason. I actually go. The other day, my wife was telling me, you haven't been to see our granddaughter for a long time. Now, remember I told you my wife doesn't like going. So I go on her behalf. So I told her, yeah, the time we were planning to go, we ended up, she needed us to spend some time, so I didn't go. But we kept a very, very, very cordial relationship with our daughter-in-law. About 4 weeks ago, she wanted to pick up some documents that she had left with some things in our house. So she came and spent 3 days in our house. And the granddaughter, as soon as school closes, she has a room in our house. So she comes. So that's how we are handling this now. Our daughter-in-law is still our daughter-in-law. We have a great relationship with our parents. We have a great relationship with our uncles and cousins and everybody. And we sat with our son and had that conversation and said, you two have disagreed. But we haven't disagreed with her, so we will keep that relationship, and he's quite happy with that. And so, has it affected the family dynamics? I think so, in that our second born was very close to his sister-in-law because they share a birthday. And, they just bonded. I mean, you're my brother's wife, you would think she was his wife until you got married. I mean, they are that close. And she helped him, now the second born, get himself a wife. So the two girls are like this. And I do help here and there with some things with our daughter-in-law. It's not easy. The truth be said, brothers, God created Adam, and Adam went his wayward ways. Jesus had 12 disciples. One of them was Judas. It's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to me. I am a Christian. I have been involved in a lot of Christian work. I'm a mental health worker. I help other people's children. And with all of that, I couldn't help my own son when it comes to this one. It's going to happen. Get used to it. We live in a fallen world. And you know, John says something very interesting. He says, when we shall see, brothers, we do not know what it shall be like, but when we see Jesus, then we shall be like him. The New Jerusalem is not yet come. We're living in this earth which is fallen, and some of the traces of fallenness is this. My mother and my father prayed for our firstborn sister. She left and went and got saved girl. When got married to a radical Muslim, changed her name to Rael Hadija Abdallah. From Rachel to Rael Hadija Abdallah. She was wearing the full wax, you know, where you only see the eyes. And she stayed in that stuff for 20 years. Then one day she turns up home and she says, I've come home. And we say, what? And then she goes to church. She knew the Lord and confesses and everything. And she got involved in everything. You know, the Muslims get involved in the witchcraft, all of that, Majini, going under the sea, the wax. And so she comes back home and rededicates her life to the Lord, gets spirit-filled, you know, removes all the hirizi, you know, the charms, takes them to the church. The pastors say, we know these things, we don't know what to do with them, just take them back home. She says, yeah, they're mine, I've had them for a long time, but you need to help me know what to do with them. So they said, we will pray and come on Thursday. On Thursday, they had got a breakthrough. They were told by the Lord to burn them, and they burnt them. And then she said, now, there are some more which I swallowed. What do I do with them? And these are AIC guys, eh? I'm AIC, so there's nothing wrong with us. And the Lord told them to pray and just renounce them. And when they prayed over her, the whole stuff jumped out of her stomach. And you, look, I'm a doctor. Where do those things hide in the body? But they were there physically. And so my sister came back home, rededicated her life to the Lord, died very, very happy woman. She would wake up at 3 and just pray until morning. And I mean, it's a whole turnaround. And I have another brother, similar story, other things. What am I saying?
Don't go through all the 10. You remember?
No. I'm not going through the 10. No. I'm just saying, this is the lesson we learned from our mom and dad. Pray for your children. They will turn back.
Thank you.
I'm answering the question that says, when your children were younger, how did you balance between career, family, and ministry? In the book of Ecclesiastes, it says that under the sun, there is time and season for everything. That means there is time, 24 hours, and those are very many hours. You can divide them, and you can prioritize what is a priority at that moment. And also in every moment or season in life, there is grace, there is strength to do what you are called to do. Here it talks about family, children, and career. For me, I was, at one time, I was a teacher, a farmer, a wife, a mother, and a student. And I would work during the day. As a student in the university, I work during the day. I come home in the evening. I ensure that the children have supper, have done their homework. Then I sleep around 8. 8 in the evening. I relax and I refresh. And I wake up at 10. And from 10, I would have such a breakthrough. I would write so many assignments up to around 4. And there was sufficient grace, there was sufficient strength, and I would wake up and go to work. So I think it all matters on what you prioritize at every time. If it's time to fix children, you do it that time. Maybe it's a mission calling. If it is Sunday morning and you are going for a mission, you organize your children and your husband and the whole family goes for the mission because that is the priority at that particular time. So yours is to use the 24 hours according to the need at that time, the grace that God provides, and the season and the strength. Sometimes I look back and wonder where the strength came from. But I tell you, it is provided for. And Mary is here. She sometimes went to Grace during the holidays. She knows how to grace and milk. So you also teach your children to work so that they can make the work easier for you. In brief.
Thank you. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, especially for my age mates, for 3 things. Setting the date aside. Number 2, for actually preparing. It was a very difficult thing. When you're given 10 minutes, to choose what to say is very difficult. Do you agree? But thirdly, for being vulnerable. Did you get they were vulnerable? Yeah, that's not, you don't get that every other day.